Jinn in love with you. The symptoms of Ashik Jinn: frequent wet dreams, dreaming of naked women or incest in your sleep, wild lust for no reason, frequent masturbation, smelling strange odors in the bathroom without knowing their source. One hates marriage and tries to have nothing to do with it. The person cannot sleep, spends hours in the toilet, suffers from distraction and wanders at night. You feel movements in your genitals. He has the feeling that someone is following him, sleeping next to him, or he feels a heaviness and the breath of a strange person with him. A man finds female hair on his body, sometimes hair in his trousers or on his genitals. Some women see naked men appear before them in various forms. The person likes to sleep half naked. They sleep for long hours. Poor erection, erectile dysfunction or premature ejaculation, pain under the navel, pain in the testicles.
Things that makes a jinn possess you and fall in love with you. 1. Staying in the bathroom and listening to music in the bathroom and even talking in the bathroom. 2. Looking in the mirrors a lot. 3. Taking off your clothes without saying Bismillah. These are all things that makes the devil fall in love with you, just like any disgusting human being.
Now it's like I can't even, how would I explain this to the brother that I'm speaking to about marriage, that I have a jinn, that I have a jinn that loves me and that will cause ongoing problems between our marriage. I think about it all the time. Who would want to marry me? You know, this has affected my life completely. And it's changed everything.
You see something you like, baby?
You see in front of you is a real jinn. Now, when I first saw this video, I was horrified. The video has almost 14 million views and people can genuinely not believe what they are seeing. Now, you're probably thinking, I swear humans can't see jinns. Well, you're correct, because no humans can see jinns in their true form. But you can see a jinn that appears in a different form. Just like Pookie over here. The most common misconception about jinns is that they are the most scariest things that exist and that we should stay clear of them by any means necessary. Now, I've heard so many stories where people befriend jinns thinking they're Christian or Muslim, hence good jinns. And they've turned out to be devils. Lucifer 666. They take advantage of human naivety to make you think that they are good jinns. Some of them have existed for thousands of years. The level of shaitanic wisdom they possess can make you think that they're good jinns. Next thing you know, they've convinced you to sacrifice a chicken, a lamb, and your whole family. But you generally should avoid confrontation with a jinn. Don't go to forests at night, don't go to abandoned buildings, just avoid those places at all costs. Because if you go to their homes and disturb their peace, then they're gonna wanna come to your yard and disturb your peace. The thing is, they're more scared of true believers than true believers are of them. You'll never see a Muslim starring in a Western horror movie because we just have to say one thing and it's game over for the jinns. If you're Muslim, then you already know what that is.
4 signs there's a jinn living with you. That's right, it's possible that there are jinns living in your house and you don't even know about it. Number 1, lights flickering in your house, because jinns love to play with electricity and fire. Number 2, hearing voices of people when they're not actually there, because jinns can impersonate other humans. Number 3, getting random headaches and fighting with your family member. This is a sign that the jinn is creating problems. And number 4, hearing random footsteps running in your house when no one's there. Are you sure there's not a jinn with you?
لا إله إلا الله أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات من شر ما خلق حصنت نفسي لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات من شر ما خلق استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليك. لساني يا جماعة الخير ماني قادر.
يما كيف صار شكله؟ يما ييه بس اخوان صار وجهه تحول. طلعوا كيف طلعت انت؟ وصوت هاد صوت زئير اخوان اللي فيه. ليش بدك ايش؟ بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله بسم الله بسم الله بسم الله بسم الله. عينه غمضت. طلع كيف عينه الثانية يا اخوان. في عين غمضت عنده. شوفوا كيف عينه الثانية. بسم الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل أعوذ برب الفلق.
This is the longest true horrifying story episode. This episode is worth the time. The story took place in Nador, Morocco in the year 2015. The story was submitted by Ilyas. Back in 2015, Ilyas was an 18-year-old Moroccan Muslim that lived in Norway. One night, Ilyas was back in Morocco visiting family, and he stayed up late watching a movie at home till 3 in the morning. The living room was very warm, so he got up to open the window for fresh air. As he was at the window, being at the 4th floor in that building, he looks down, and the street was dark and empty, but there was one man wearing black from head to toe with a hood covering his face. He wasn't sure why that man was outside at that time. He looked away, but then peeked one last time out of curiosity. When he looked at him again, the man had his hands on a building's wall. He was strangely just feeling the wall, and out of nowhere, the man vanishes through that wall. He rubbed his eyes in disbelief after what he just witnessed. Ilyas swears that there was no door in that spot. It was just physically impossible. He forgets about this after a while and then flies back to Norway. 6 months later, in Norway, Ilyas experiences his first ever sleep paralysis, which in Islam is known as Jathum. He vividly remembers having a conversation with a dark figure, and his mom also witnessed him speak in his sleep. He woke up after the paralysis with swollen feet and rashes all over his body. They rushed to the ER, and none of the doctors could diagnose what caused his body to react that way. He was finally discharged after treatment, but after that day, Ilyas was never the same person. He always acted differently. He was antisocial. He was distant from people. And his mom always told him that he needed ruqya. A few months later, they fly back to Morocco for the next holiday season. He was always against his mother's ruqya idea. However, he decided to fight his thoughts and do it. He had a cousin that was also suffering, and she visited Araqi in Morocco quite regularly. So they went together with both of their moms. When they reached, they sat down and waited for their session. Ilyas could hear the Raqi in the other room, and he felt extremely uneasy and started to sweat. The Quran recitation, the ruqya, the sounds, made him not even want to look at that direction. He was angry. He went outside for a moment to gain back his senses until their turn finally reached. The Raqi called them in and started. Ilyas's cousin immediately started reacting horribly when the Quran started. She was screaming so loud. Ilyas started losing senses throughout his entire body. He was sweating, he was unable to move, and he was shouting from fear. He does pray, and he does read Quran, but he was so confused as to why he was screaming. He felt like he was being tortured. The slightest pinch from the Raqi felt like it was a knife stab. It was very powerful, and this is where he felt a jinn's presence inside of him. The following night was the most horrific night for Ilyas. For a whole week, the man was not able to sleep alone, and he would get mentally abused by these demons haunting him. Weeks go by. Ilyas started getting demonic thoughts of harming his own family. He hated everyone. When he would look at his own sister, her face would seem distorted to him. He knows these beings are playing with his head. His whole life turned upside down. He would regularly think of harming his own family, but luckily, he never did. A few months later, Ilyas was back in Norway and life was back to normal. He was relieved that he was in a good state of mind and that the horror was over. At the time, he worked at a local grocery store. After a Christmas celebration at work, which he did not participate in, it was late at night. He was walking one of his colleagues back home from work. She was a young woman and she was scared to walk alone. After they reached outside her place, she asked him, "Where's that other girl that was with us?" "What girl?" Ilyas asked. "There was no one there. It was just you and I." She swore that there was another woman with black hair, pale skin, standing next to him the whole time, staring at Ilyas's colleague with anger. Even though this entity gave Ilyas a break, this jinn was still around, haunting everyone that has intentions towards Ilyas.